Hi, welcome everyone to the November 9th, 2022 meeting of the Baltimore County Pedestrian and Bicycle Advisory Committee. I am the chair, and my name is Jessie Bialik, and I will be running the meeting this afternoon. So, what we normally do is go around. Something's making a strange noise. Sorry, everybody, hang on. That is me. I just muted that. I don't know what that was. I'm sorry. Apologies for the interruption. If you could please mute yourselves unless you are speaking, that would be really helpful. Thank you. Or I can just go ahead and mute everybody. Okay. Very good. Okay, sorry, technical difficulties. Let's continue. So I do have one announcement to make. I would like to welcome Miss Sarah Smith. She has been appointed to the committee as a representative for District 4. So welcome, Sarah. We're super excited and happy to have you. Yay, round of applause. So I think we finally have a member representative from all of our councilmanic districts, which I'm super happy about. So we're going to start with our introductions for the members of the committee. I already introduced myself, and we'll start with the district members, starting with district number 1. You can please unmute yourself and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Charlie Murphy, District 1, Tom Quirk, but he's leaving office at the end of the year and being replaced by Pat Young.
Thanks, Charlie. It's Elliot on. He's District 2. He is not, so we'll move to 3.
Yeah, I'm Mike Sapanik, District 3, representing Wade Catch, and that district extends from the Pennsylvania line southward.
Great, thank you so much. District 4, yay! Sarah, if that's you, you can introduce yourself. If not, I kind of already introduced you.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Sarah Smith, representing District 4 for Councilman Jones. I'm still working on getting my camera set up. Thank you.
Oh, that's okay. No worry about it. Okay, 5. Oh, Mr. Doughty will not be here today. He did email me. He is the representative for District 5. So we'll go to 6.
Hi, Tom Brock here, representing District 6.
Hi there, Tom. And 7.
Yeah, hi, Fran Taylor, representing District 7 for Councilman Crandall.
Great, thank you. And now we'll do the members at large. Dave, I see you. You can go first.
Dave Ferraro, at large, residing in District 1, Tom Quirk, soon to be Pat Young.
Great, thank you. Any other of my members at large here?
Elliot here.
There you are.
Yes, sorry, just came in a little late.
Okay.
I'm with District 2, Izzy Patoka. Here we are. And that's centered around the Pikesville kind of area over towards Towson and then down towards District 4. And I'm here with my son. Say hey.
Oh, congratulations.
Thanks. Hey, buddy.
If we don't have any more executive appointees, which I don't see, but there are a couple phone numbers, so I can't be sure, then we'll start with our county folks. Can start with Molly.
Hi, I'm Molly Pickle. I am a planner with Recreation and Parks. Should we go to Chris next?
Sure.
I'm Chris Weaver. I'm here with representing Department of Planning.
I think it's you, Captain Brown.
Hello, this is Major Brown. I
Major.
oversee Support Operations Division, which includes our traffic resource management. Thanks.
Thank you. And our DPW&T representative, Christopher Nebre, could not be here with us today. And then we have Tony.
Good evening, everyone. Tony Bazemore. I'm the Director of Government Relations and Constituency Services for Dr. Williams in Baltimore County Public Schools. Good to be here. And I just wanted to give a personal shout out to Nancy Goldring, Northeast Towson, is here in the house. Nancy, it's always good to see you and the great work that you're doing at Northeast Towson. So it's good to see you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you all for introducing yourselves. I didn't miss anyone, did I? If now, speak. Okay, good. So we'll move on to agenda item number 2, which is the review of today's agenda, and there have been no changes to the agenda. Therefore, we will move on to agenda item number 3, which is the approval of the meeting notes of the October 12th, 2022 meeting. Is there a motion to approve the meeting notes of the October 12th, 2022 meeting?
Jess, this is Fran. I have one comment.
Go ahead, Fran.
Just a spelling thing. Trade point, I think it was under the 4th section. Trade point is one word.
Oh, thank you.
It's just something. Yeah, something.
I'll change that.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any comments or discussion of the minutes? Fixing that now. If there is no more discussion or comment on the minutes, then can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the October 12th, 2022 meeting?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. And a second?
I'll second. Whatever.
Thanks. We'll put down whomever. Thank you so much. All right. We'll move on to agenda item number 4, which is a vote on next year's PBAC meeting schedule. Let me pull that up for everybody. Share my screen. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Super, thank you. Okay, so we're keeping the excuse me, meeting format the same as we have since the dawn of the PBAC's time. And we're going to have our meetings at the beginning of the year. We're going to have one March the 8th, April the 12th, and then towards the end of the year, October the 11th, and November the 8th, all starting at 4 p.m. on Wednesdays. I can't say at this time whether or not we'll be meeting in person on our March 8th, 2023 meeting. I do hope to be doing that soon, but unfortunately, we still need to get some more people on board over here in DPW&T to help me run those meetings. So look out for either information about a WebEx meeting or an in-person meeting coming early next year. So with that being said, is there a motion to approve the 2023 meeting schedule and work program?
Can I make a comment? So,
Wait 1 second. Sorry, we have to follow certain rules of order.
I'm sorry.
I'm trying to interrupt you. But first we have to make a motion, and then we can have discussion, and then we can have a vote.
Oh, so it's a motion to approve, then discuss, then vote?
Yes, I know.
Oh,
I know, it's weird. So that's why I do it that way.
sorry.
No, that's okay. It's all learning how these things work. So is there a motion to approve?
I so move.
Thank you. All right, now we can discuss.
Okay.
Go.
So, I'm relatively new to the committee. This is the 3rd meeting where I've been eligible to attend. It just in light of, I don't know. So in light of what I've seen, from the master draft plan that came out, and just how much is in there and all the substance, I just don't feel like 4 meetings is enough to really accomplish a whole lot with regards to at least that kind of output maybe this year will be quiet and there's nothing really to discuss. I don't know what's on the docket. And especially if it's a mix of virtual and in person. And if this has been the way it's been since, for a decade or two, I guess, just go with it. But just from a newcomer's perspective, I just don't see how we accomplish that much in the course of 4 hours over the course of a year. Maybe that's just me.
I agree. I think we need more meetings, but in the past, sometimes what we did is had a group of people would have, they would call us something. I can't remember even what it was called, but then we would have separate meetings.
It's a subcommittee meeting. Yeah.
What is it?
It was called a subcommittee meeting.
Okay, yeah.
So
yeah.
if, we were doing extra projects or there was no need for discussion, we would hold what's called subcommittee meetings, which are basically meetings in between the scheduled quarterly meetings. The quarterly meetings are set up in the PBAC's bylaws, so that's why we do it that way. And then we would have those supplemental meetings if there was more information to discuss in the committee. And then not all of the committee would need to come to those meetings. It could be a certain subset of the committee, or everybody could participate. So it was either way.
So with regards to those bylaws, does that mean that the bylaws have to change in order for this meeting schedule to change?
So the bylaws state that we have to have 4 meetings a year.
No more, no less?
Just says 4 meetings a year. So I mean, so that's why we technically would hold these subcommittee meetings, which are still meetings, but they're not technically part of the approved schedule.
Okay. So would the subcommittee meetings, would they be publicized? I mean, would they be 100% private? I mean, just for the.
So all county public meetings are open to the public.
Okay.
During the subcommittee meetings, though, they're normally centered on a certain topic, and then people can listen in, but there is no discussion from the public at those meetings. It's just discussion within the group itself.
Okay. And then all four of these main meetings, that's open for public comment.
Right. Yes, that's when the public have an opportunity to address the committee. And then every March, our first meeting of the year, we have our regularly scheduled meeting. And then we have what's called our constituent input meeting after that at 5 p.m., which is where constituents come and tell us the types of projects that they'd like to see in their communities.
Okay. I mean, I guess the subcommittee is a nice option. I don't know if other people agree or not.
No, I would agree. I would do one. I think with Zoom and all, it'd be the easiest way to pull them off if you have more than the 4. Just because I'm on the west side, it's hard to get to Towson for me, but I'll be glad to Zoom.
Sure.
Right. So those are always options of having these, separate subcommittee meetings to talk about a particular topic of interest for the committee.
How about a subcommittee on, meetings? Michael, you could lead it. Since we're probably not in a position to change the bylaws within the scope of today's meeting for, since we're basically about to approve it. But we could, throughout the course of the next calendar year, get some folks together to talk about if it's worth updating the bylaws or, just to keep the subcommittee option as far as the tempo of meetings go.
I mean, just as one example, I mean, the comments on the draft plan are due on the 18th, and then we're not meeting next until March 8th. Like I would definitely like to, hear what the comments are on the draft plan. I'd like to discuss them. I'd like to, as an advisor, I'd like to have input, into the plan based on those comments. I'd like to know what those comments are. I assume that I would be privy to the, I don't know.
Privy to all of the comments that we receive for the plan.
Sure.
Yeah, I
would
mean,
say.
that's a possibility. Once they've finished compiling them, I'm more than happy to share them with the group or whomever's interested. It's all open information, so,
Yeah,
you know,
it just seems
more
like
than
that's a
happy to
great
share it.
topic for a meeting.
If that's something that you all want to do, then that's something that you all have the privilege to do.
No, I think that would be good because I look at the map just really from District 1, and it would be nice to see the comments and the thoughts of others for their districts. I think that would make us more cohesive as a group.
That's definitely something that you all can decide that you want to do or that you can vote on.
Do you have to be part of it? I mean, I don't care if you are. It's just.
Thanks, Charlie.
No, I mean, it's fine if
Yes,
you
I
are. I'm
do.
just saying.
As the chair, I have to be
So you
involved
have to.
no matter
Okay. Well,
what.
that's what we
But
need to know.
one of you would be appointed to run the subcommittee.
Okay.
I would just
That's
be
it. All right.
present.
And then we have to agree on a time.
You have to agree on a time and a date.
Okay.
Yep.
I guess we could do that via email, or I don't know.
If you want to do an official subcommittee meeting, we have to have a vote with the entire committee. We have to have a motion and a vote.
So we have to do it right now, pretty much.
Yes.
Well, we want to have, it sounds like we want to have a meeting, but details to be determined as far as date and time.
Well, you could vote to have a subcommittee meeting. Yes, Dave, I see your hand, sorry. You could vote to have a subcommittee meeting, in January or February of 2023, but you have to be specific about it,
Okay.
at least with the month and the year.
I don't know if we're able to do that. Michael, are you there?
Yeah, so Jesse, so what's our procedure? So I guess first we would just vote on.
Right. So first we have to vote on this.
Okay.
And then we can do another motion to have subcommittee meeting.
Okay.
So that's the process.
Okay. I'm fine going through those motions.
Well, since this is in reference to the map, so we have to do it after the 18th, and after the county compiles everything, which will take another bit of time. Then when is the map basically finalized? And we want to do it between when the county gets all the comments together and when the map is finalized, somewhere in between, correct?
Correct, but let's stop here for a second and let's finish the procedural motion to approve this, and then we can move on to a motion and a discussion on the subcommittee meeting.
Got it.
Procedurally, please.
Okay.
So I did hear somebody. Does anyone else want to say anything about this meeting schedule discussion before we have a vote? Nobody? Sorry, I can't see all of you with my little screen. So if you're nodding your head, just speak up because I can't hear you. Or see you, excuse me.
Right,
Okay.
I have no comments.
Okay. No one has any more comments on this one? Okay. So did somebody make a motion? See, now I can't remember. This is terrible. I believe so. Yes. So somebody made a motion. So is there a second on
I'll second the motion.
Okay, great. So is everyone in favor? Say aye or
Aye.
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 thank you. The motion passes. Okay. Now we can so someone will have to make a new motion for the committee to have a subcommittee meeting.
All right, I'll make the motion to have
I
us.
would say in January probably, because we'll compile and then it'll be, the holiday season. So we all know how that goes. So I can't imagine that anything will be getting finalized until after the first of the year.
Okay.
If that helps.
All right, say January. I propose January then. But do you want a specific date?
No, so I just need
Huh.
you to say, like, I make a motion to have a subcommittee meeting in January 2023, but I can't make the motion, so you have to do
Okay, I make the motion. We have a subcommittee meeting in January 23.
Second the motion.
Okay, perfect. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Jess, Fran,
Fran, go ahead.
just to be sure, what is the purpose of the subcommittee meeting? Just so I know.
So I believe from what Michael and Charlie and folks have been discussing, it's going to be a subcommittee meeting to discuss the final comments and final mapping of the bicycle and pedestrian master plan. Is that correct, everybody?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. So that's it, Fran.
Thank you.
Sure. Sure.
I have
So,
one comment here, Elliot. Is there a timeline for the, I guess, consultant or DPWT to, do the review or to compile the comments?
no, I don't have an exact timeline at this point. Our timeline has gotten pushed back quite a bit. So we had planned on having everything wrapped up at this point, but since that's not the case, I can't say for sure
Understood.
when that will be. But since comments aren't closed until November the 18th, with the holidays coming up,
Right, people.
I can't
often say,
imagine anything's
understood.
going to happen until after the first of the year. But I will definitely keep you all in the loop. I, have a discussion with him. We haven't had our meeting yet this month, so. Is there any other discussion on the motion on the table? Figuratively. Okay, so there was a motion made by Charlie and a second by Dave. Okay, great. Okay. All in favor? Say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, great. The motion passes. Wonderful. Okay, so we will have a subcommittee meeting about the comments of the bicycle and pedestrian master plan in January of 2023. Super. Okay. Okay. So the next topic on our agenda is the PBAC annual report review. And since we have some new folks on the committee, I will just briefly give a summary of what that entails. So when the committee was founded, as part of the committee's work program, each year there is a annual report that is done, talking about all the meetings that the committee has done, what infrastructures have been built, and what education and or enforcement, activities and any other information relating to bike and ped has been done during the past fiscal year. So this is basically just a summary of all of that information. So I will pull that up. Does anyone have any questions about that so far?
What is the fiscal year?
So sorry. The fiscal year is so for FY 2022, which is the one we're speaking about now, it's July. Sorry, it's I can't even get it right, and it's been how long? So embarrassing. So it's July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. Any other questions? Okay.
And I guess just looking at the document when it speaks to pedestrian countdown signals and curb ramps, is that implying that? Well, I guess any of this is it implying that those accomplishments can be attributed to this group, or is it just in here because it's bike and ped related?
It's just in here because it's bike and ped related.
Okay.
Someone has a hand raised.
See, this is Tony. It looks like someone has their hand raised that's on the phone.
Yes, right. I don't hear them though.
They're muted. Are you able to unmute them?
I don't know, but if they're honestly, because of Robert's Rules of Order, if they are not part of the committee and this discussion at the moment, then really this is not the time to be asking questions. So after we discuss the agenda item and do our motions, and have our discussion, then if there's a question, then somebody can speak up. So sorry to be all retentive about all that.
Is the annual report something we can review, or is that something that has to be done?
No, I was about to pull it up. I had sent it out to everybody earlier today. I got
Okay.
thrown off with election day being the day before the meeting, so I didn't get anything out in time, so I'm sorry about that. But yeah, I'm about to bring that up so we can talk about it. And then I got distracted with the raised hand. Okay. So, as I summarized a couple minutes ago, this is the annual report that's mandated by the County Code, Section 3322, and it describes the work of the committee and the county in fiscal year 2022, which I stated was July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. The report also describes the progress made in advancing pedestrian and bicycle improvements in the county. So when you see the list of members, if you are not on there, that's because you were not here during and or appointed during this time frame. So please don't feel like I missed you. I know you're there. Everybody knows that already. So we'll move down to meeting summaries. If any member of the committee at any point has anything they would like to say, please feel free to unmute yourself and speak up. And then, like I said, if there are other folks on the meeting that would like to ask questions, we will do that after we've done our procedures first. Okay. Sorry to be redundant. So the committee scheduled 4 meetings in FY 2022, the October 13th, 2021, the November 10th, 2021, the March 9th, 2022, and the April 13th, 2022. Beside each of the meeting dates is a summary of each of the meetings that we had. So our meetings tend to go in, well, at least in fiscal year order, where in March we have our CIM, and in April we discuss the projects that the county might be either applying for grants for or putting into the budget for the next fiscal year. November, we talk about any projects that, I'm sorry, October, we talk about projects that have been applied for and the county's working on. And then November is kind of when we wrap up everything, just to give everybody a brief overview of how the flow has worked thus far. And then, of course, if we had subcommittee meetings, they would be showing up on here as well. So,
with
go ahead.
the April 13th, that the last item, it speaks to continuation of design of NCR to JFT connection. I'm just a little surprised it said design. It seems like it's really just right now, even only got started, that it's really talking about just, trying to pick the route or, identify alternatives. Is design the right word there?
Well, it's still technically in design, as we call it in our space.
Okay.
Down. So this section talks about the implementation of pedestrian and bicycle improvements. and any supportive legislation or undertaking of educational encouragement and enforcement programs. So this is the section on complete streets. So Baltimore County had adopted a complete street policy and guidelines in December of 2013. So there were a total of 46 plans approved in FY 2022. 5 of the plans were located outside the URDL and were not subject to the complete street guidelines. I don't know if folks need me to elaborate on that a little bit more, but I can. So the urban-rural demarcation line is the imaginary line in Baltimore County where it basically separates the constituents that have public water and sewer from the constituents who are on well and septic. So that's kind of how we separate the urban from the rural here in Baltimore County. And the complete street guidelines are only applicable to projects and or developments that are within the urban area of the county, not outside. Just so everybody's clear on that. So where was I? Okay. Many plans involved only.
Question.
Go ahead.
What are some of the, or could we read the Complete Streets statute, and what are some of the key things that are typically, required in those plans that the Complete Streets essentially affects?
I mean, we can, there's a whole presentation and, guide
Sure, I
of
should do
complete
some,
streets if you want to take some time to read it. But the basic gist of it is when DPW&T is reviewing development plans in the county, if they're new development plans, which the most development plans in the county now are either plan refinements or have been previously approved and so would not qualify for complete streets review. But what it is, it's, making sure that there are sidewalks, within the development and that they connect to properties that are outside the development. If there's, sidewalks adjacent, that, the property is going to be connected with that. The same thing goes for if there's bicycle infrastructure in the area, that this plan, this fake plan I'm talking about, would connect to those as well. And then also if there is bicycle infrastructure shown in the bicycle and pedestrian master plan, such as a shared use path, that's being put into the development as well. And then if there's adjacent connections, that those connections are being made. So we're trying to include all road users, when these new development plans are coming in, regardless of if they are residential or commercial.
Okay, that reminds me, I think maybe sent to you, Jesse, a question about a development plan that didn't have sidewalks but was inside the URDL. And I don't know where I think you connected me to the PM, but I probably dropped it. It's actually in Michael's district. But is that, well, I guess if it was a refinement, then they would probably be exempt, before the time. But if it was a brand new development plan, it could be subject to that. Is that a good?
So, I mean, there's always gonna be an exception to the rule, and sometimes when DPW&T is reviewing plans, they may or may not decide that the property or the development plan is in need of them because of the neighborhood context. If it's like right on the border of, being rural and being urban and there's no surrounding sidewalk anywhere in the vicinity, a lot of times the developer will come in and ask for a waiver to those requirements, and those waivers are sometimes approved. So that could have been the case at this one, but I'm not positive because I don't know which one it was.
Sure. And is that kind of wavering, is that something that like your office gets to comment on through that review process?
Yes.
I see.
Correct.
How do we see these waivers? I think that'd be nice to let us look at them.
The waivers come in as part of the development plan process.
Yeah.
Does the committee have any standing with that?
Not according to the bylaws, no.
But to me, it seems like you put a development in and you don't put the sidewalks because there's no other sidewalks on the one side, then there's never going to be any sidewalks. I mean, that's just the way it's going to be. And the developer's not going to say, oh, hell yeah, I'm going to put some sidewalks in. It's just not going to happen. I mean, that's always been a problem with the complete streets in this county, has been the loopholes. And I think developers gotten away with it more than once on not doing the necessary pedestrian bicycle improvements to the areas. I don't know the specific ones, but I know we've discussed them in the past.
Right, and that is true, and in the past it has been the case, but I gotta say that it has gotten better. It's not great. Certainly we're behind,
Yeah, we are.
but it has gotten better. So as long as we can keep getting better, then that's what we're going to try to do. And I'm only one part of the cog of this wheel
No, I
when
know.
it comes to, approving these waivers. I give my professional opinion, but, I'm not the ultimate decision maker in those. So just keep that in mind. I'm always fighting for it, but, things just go the way they're going to go sometimes.
I think one concrete step that could be made, if it's feasible, is, in this document, we're going to get to it, but in the pedestrian countdown signals and curb ramp sections, there's an itemized list of where those were done. And that's really great. It would seem to be that why not do the same thing for the complete streets? I'd love to see a list of what the 41 plans were, what the 6 that were in conformance and which ones were exempted, what the reasons for the exemption was, what the 22 that were minor are. I mean, just as an example, I mean, there's the Triple Bridges project is hanging around out there and coming up and looming. And if you look at that, it seems like it's going to impact Security Boulevard. And from what I understand, Security Boulevard is in line as a complete streets candidate. So is that going to be called a refinement, or is that going to be is this going to qualify? It seems like, when it's included as part of that project, it's probably going to be a pretty big bridge replacement or something. So I would think that that should be included, but it would be helpful to have the historical context and be able to just have that information. And this seems like it would be a great place to have it. If it's someplace else, maybe just point to that place. If it's not,
Right.
that's
So I get my list from, so all development plans go through the county's Department of Permits, Inspections, and Approvals, or PAI. So they are the ones that are in charge of all development plan review for Baltimore County. They intake everything and then they parse it out to all the agencies for comment. So when I am compiling this list, I get my information from them. And they're the kind of the gatekeepers of all of that information. Not that they won't share it, but that's just where I get it from. So
Right.
when I'm compiling this list, it's just information that I've received from them.
Yep. And that's
I'm sorry, go Elliot.
yeah, well, you mentioned this, it's a state project, and I'm sure there's some county projects along. Does the county's own, road like revision process require complete streets? In other words, like they're going to add a lane on Security Boulevard, would that like trigger a, review, or is it only new road construction, or maybe not at all, applicable under that complete streets?
So if there's any new road construction in Baltimore County, it has to comply with complete street guidelines.
Gotcha.
When they are redoing a road, we try to comply to the complete street guidelines if there's enough room to
Sure, of
accommodate,
course.
all of the necessary modes of transportation as well as whatever they're actually redesigning the road for. And speaking of Security Boulevard, so the county has what's called county maintained roads and state maintained roads. So the major thoroughfares in Baltimore County, the rooted ones, so to speak, are state roads. They do not always inquire as to what Baltimore County would like to see on those roads, so they operate in a little bit of a vacuum. It has gotten better, over the years with them sharing their information with us, but we're not always the first to know what's going on, unfortunately. But I do know that they have decided to make what's called these new contact zones, which are like their version of complete streets, to try to get, you know, all road users on the roads safely as they can.
Well,
So
I'd like to say the state and the county have got to work together in a more cohesive fashion, because we lost a bikeable section on Wilkins Avenue because the state did it their way, even though I told them not to leave the shoulder alone. We just lost a chunk of land on Frederick Road that had it was a kind of a shouldery thing, and now we lost. It was only 2 feet, but we lost 1.5 feet of it. Now we got 6 inches. It's not an official bike lane, so they didn't have to do anything, but they were just repaving it. It's a bad striping job. And now we've got a big segment on Frederick Road that's going to get repaved shortly because they're doing gas line work. And I'm trying to keep them on it. They're not listening to me. Somebody's got to step up for the county and say, hey, look, there's a bike project that Nate Evans did on that section of the road, and it's just a matter of painting it properly. That's it. And once it gets done, it's done. And you know that. And if they do it their way, they're not going to listen to it.
that's unfortunate. And I agree, because the only things that I know usually are from what you all tell me, because they do not communicate with us whatsoever. There's zero communication going on, which is something that we've been desperately trying to work on and ask them.
We have to pull in 3 politicians to get them to answer a single email.
I understand. Believe me, it's definitely a pulling of teeth over here too. You know, when it comes to whatever their plans are for their roads, they just don't share. I really wish it was different, because it's very frustrating for me as well.
It reminds me of the Padonia Road interchange reconstruction, you know, big multi-year, multi-million-dollar state project. And it just, I couldn't believe that there's zero, you know, like sidewalks or crosswalks or any part of it. There's a crosswalk that kind of terminates on Padonia and right by like the Chili's there. Like you could get, it wouldn't have been a you know, big increase for the state to have designed that in there. But for whatever reason, it wasn't part of the plan. And so now, you know, it would be probably pretty expensive to have that retrofitted in now that the thing is done.
I understand.
So with regards to this document that we're looking at, so is there the opportunity to either amend this document with the specifics to all these 41 plans, or is that on the cards, and can we just maybe just get it separately, and maybe going forward we get that for next year, or
We can do that moving. We can do that moving forward.
Okay. Thank you, Josie.
Okay, so moving on to educational enforcement and encouragement programs. I don't want to speak for the Baltimore County Police Department if they would like to, but I can say that, at least from my contacts in the police department, you know, they've been working very hard on their safety campaigns, and they've also been working with MHSO, which is the Maryland Highway Safety Office, on a continuous basis to try to get the word out about how important it is to be safe on our roads. And I've also been involved with the Signal Woman campaign. I don't know if any of you have seen her around, but she's just trying to get the word out to, you know, be safe when you're crossing the street, you know, pay attention, you know, giving positive messages to pedestrians when it comes to their safety. And there's also speed trailers that are in constant rotation throughout the county to help combat speeding. I know speeding has become a really big issue post-pandemic world here in Baltimore County, and we're very aware of that, and we're trying to do what we can here at DPWT to combat that issue. And Of course, we're always working with BCPS to help with safety issues at the schools. I don't know if folks are aware, but there's been a big push here in DPW&T to put raised crosswalks in front of all elementary schools in Baltimore County to slow traffic down and make people aware that there are pedestrians and children in the area. And the Department of Health and Human Services is continuing to promote, increased family activities and walking as a means to improve the health of constituents and reduce childhood obesity. Does anybody have any comments or questions on this section?
I'd just like to say that I've seen a few in our area in District 1, some of those raised sidewalks, and I think they help out. And if nothing else, they're bright. They're brighter than just the pavement, and the cars recognize them for sure. I don't know if they're slowing down, but they know they're there.
Right. Sometimes it's helpful to just have something that catches the driver's eye and makes them pay attention a little bit more to what's going on, especially around schools.
Jess's
Yeah.
friend, do you
Go ahead,
know if
Fran.
there's a schedule for those raised sidewalks? We can anticipate when it could be in our area?
I can talk to our traffic calming project manager. He has a continuous list of the projects that he has been working on. I don't know how he has picked them, so to speak, but I can certainly find out for you. Make myself a note. Anybody else?
Are those raised crosswalks, are they ever combined with bulb outs, or is it just the raised crosswalk?
I'm sorry, I don't know what term you just used.
Bulb outs? So where the curb.
Oh, bump outs. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I called it bulb out. Bump out.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I gotcha. It depends on the size of the road and the width of the road.
Okay.
But the nice thing about the raised crosswalks is that we don't have to do a whole lot of construction or engineering for them. We can just kind of stick them in there without having to do too much heavy lifting. So that does make them a little bit easier for us to put in much quicker.
And one thing I could add is some of the raised crosswalks that have been added have reduced the need for some of our speed cameras that are near schools. Because the speed cameras are, by law, have to be half a mile from the school. So traditionally, they were areas because of crashes, because of high speeds. Obviously, they're near schools. But the raised crosswalks have, in essence, slowed people down. I mean, it's not quite a speed bump. Speed bumps, you'll definitely affect your suspension quite a bit. You could go faster over a raised crosswalk, but it's still not a good thing. So they have worked, I will say that, and they are popping up everywhere.
I'm wondering if they might be putting them in like small downtown areas so that people, because like in Catonsville, we have stuff on both sides of Frederick Road and people are always crossing the street, jaywalking, and there's traffic. And a couple of those in our downtown area would slow down the traffic and also just make it easier for the pedestrians. I don't know. I mean, or is it school focused right now?
It's my understanding, and Jeff, you can talk to this. It's my understanding it's school related, but I do agree with some of what you're saying. I see it down in Towson and Dundalk as well.
Yeah, sure.
Worth bringing up to traffic engineering or DPW.
Yeah.
Right.
One in Towson on Allegheny.
Yeah.
Yes. So right now we're focusing on getting all of the schools completed.
That's good.
And that's good to know, Major Brown. Thank you that those have been working. That's fantastic news. Okay, so if nobody has any other comments on that section, we'll move down to physical infrastructure improvements. So Molly, you can speak up if I'm incorrect, but design for additional trail renovations at Charlie Trail number 9. Funding has been allotted for design solutions that will better protect a section of the trail that keeps getting eroded away during storms. So I don't know what the status is on that, if you have one.
Yeah, the section near the bridge, or the boardwalk. And yes, it is ongoing. And there'll be a couple other improvements with like benches and such.
That's great. Thank you. And then we have the pedestrian countdown signals in FY22. There were 10 intersections where new signals or modifications with countdowns were installed, which are listed below. And then we have the curb ramps that were installed in FY22. Of there were 85, which I think is our highest number that we've ever had. Which is pretty exciting. Listed below. And that is the end of the document.
Jess, Fran, I have one comment about the curb ramps and all. I really like the fact that you have identified where those intersections are, where those curb ramps went in by zip code. I noticed there were a couple that had multi-streets that didn't have zip codes. Why wasn't that consistent? Just wondering.
That's a good question. I got this information from our ADA coordinator here in the office, so maybe she just forgot to put those on there. But I can ask her.
Okay, and the section right above that for the countdown signals, I was a little confused about one of them, the St. Luke's one. Would it be helpful if we put the zip codes for those areas also?
Okay, yeah.
So people could see really quick what's happening.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yep. Does anyone have any other discussion from the committee on the annual report?
I just wanted a more general question about the countdown signals. So, what's the motivation there? Is it just that studies show that it makes things safe for pedestrians to know that they have 1 second left versus just, the flashing hand, I assume, is the alternative?
Yes.
Okay. It's
Yes, exactly. So the older technology was just the flashing hand, so people would say, well, gosh, I probably have enough time to get across the street, when in reality that was not the case. And so, it would make for a dangerous situation for the pedestrian. So it does give them, kind of an idea of like, I think I can cross the street in 10 seconds, or I definitely cannot, then I'll wait here. So.
Okay. And does anyone know the ratio in the county of countdown signals to non-countdown signals? The counts or percentages or anything?
I imagine we have a count here in DPW&T. That's not my area of expertise, but I can certainly ask my coworker if he has any sort of running list. I imagine he does, which is why he installs them in certain places. At least that's what I'm hoping. No, I'm just teasing. If he was on the call, I'm sure he would speak up and tell me. But he's not here, so.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Thank you, Jesse.
Sure. Good question, though. Any discussion from anybody? Sorry, I'm just taking notes. Any discussion from anybody else?
Can we do a discussion unrelated to the annual report, or we need to approve this one?
Yeah, so we got to do that again. Right.
Okay.
So here I am not even following my own rules. So we have to make a motion to approve the FY 2022 annual report. Do I have a motion to do that?
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
I'll second it.
Okay. Now we can discuss more if we want to.
On the ballot yesterday, I noticed two, kind of DPW and T related things. There was a measure that mentioned funding some sidewalk work, among other things, and also to rename DPW and T, with the change of the title and whatnot. Do you have any insight as to if those have been voted and what the funding one, if that was targeting any particular projects or that's like a general fund type of thing?
So, first of all, no, I don't know any more than you do. Anybody else? But normally when there's a referendum asking for additional funding, it's very general. So
Okay.
we're just looking to borrow some more money to do some more of these infrastructure improvements. Since there's definitely a need for them.
Sure.
But I'm curious too.
Yeah, you'll maybe have a new director.
Now that leads me, I'm glad you mentioned that, Elliot. Yeah, with those bond questions, has there been any thought given to, especially so the one that I homed in on was the transportation one. I think it was 57 million for transportation, and it had a big long list of what that can include. Is there the possibility, or has there been any discussions about providing greater granularity to that? Like, for example, I'm all for putting more money into transportation that's multimodal, but I don't want to put a whole lot more money into transportation that's automobile centric. So I would definitely want to see that split, into something that aligns more with my priorities. Just to say 57 million going to transportation and trusting that that's going to go to the right place that I, want it to go to, that's not enough. And you could probably do that with a lot of them. I mean, 200 million for schools, obviously that's school construction, but it's not necessarily going to go to teachers. So you could split a lot of these. But just with regards to the transportation, is there a possibility for the county to provide more granularity to that?
That is not a question that I can answer. I'm not involved in those writing of those bond bills, so
Mhm.
if there are thoughts about them, they're not asking our professional opinions about that. I can say though that at least with the county's budgeting process, we ask for the money through the bond bills and then it comes down through our capital improvement program. So that's when, the agencies and the county executive kind of, make their budget and then constituents can come and speak, and they have the opportunity to tell the county, where they want that money to go. So, it might not happen like up here at that level, at least not to my knowledge, because I don't know. But it definitely happens down at the local level, when they're deciding where to put these budgetary funds into certain capital improvement projects.
So thanks, Jesse. So do you know who would be able to speak to that?
I honestly don't know. I don't even know who. Sounds ignorant of me, but I really don't even know who is writing the bond bill, so I have no idea.
Okay.
Sorry, Mike, this is Chris Weaver at Planning.
Yeah.
We are involved in the capital improvement program. We just had the citizen input meeting a couple weeks ago. I believe the budgets before that happens, so individual projects are developed by the agencies. But it's probably a good idea to be involved in the citizen input meetings whenever possible, which are held every year, to try to at least get that on people's minds so the agencies are thinking about it in adding new projects.
Okay. Okay. Then that's through the planning department?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it seems to me that, it's great. Okay, they get the money, and then citizens can say, like, well, I want it to be directed towards this, whatever this. But that's just suggestions. Whereas my vote is like, no, you're not getting the money. That's power. Whereas the just making suggestions there's no power there. I have really no say there. It's but I don't want to get too deep into it. But thank you, Chris. I appreciate that.
Yes, thank you, Chris. That was really helpful. Is there any other discussion on the annual report? Okay, hearing no more discussion on the annual report. Is there everyone who would like to approve, please unmute and say yay, aye.
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 Are there
Aye.
any opposed? Okay, thank you. The motion passes unanimously. Stop sharing. Okay, now we have moved on to agenda item number 6, which is other business. So if there is anyone on the meeting that would like to speak on any other topic, now is your time to do so. So don't all unmute yourselves at once, but please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Okay, so this is Nancy Goldring. I can't see on my phone where to put my hand up, so.
No, we hear you.
Okay, got it. So I am the president of the Northeast Towson Improvement Association, the organization from Historic East Towson, Neighborhood Association from Historic East Towson, and we have been championing a trail that would connect 13 sites of historic significance, extending from East Towson back to Hampton Plantation, which is where many of the founding families of East Towson are descendants of people formerly enslaved there. So I have been in communication, direct communication with Kent Devereaux from Goucher and the superintendent of the Hampton National Historic Site, David Moore. Both are very much on board with the Road to Freedom Trail concept and plan. And so myself and several other people on the call today are here to, number one, make sure that our trail is a part of this discussion and to find out what we need to do to continue to move the needle forward in having the trail to be included in the county's 2030 master plan.
Well, thank you so much for being a part of the meeting today. And I just heard about this recently, thanks to you and your group of amazing people that have been emailing me, which is awesome. And I looked at the trail and I think it's fantastic. So that's the whole purpose of why we're asking for public comments for the Bike and Ped Master Plan, because, you know, there are going to be things that, you know, we miss. We're just looking, you know, at what our previous plans have and where we think, you know, the transportation corridors should be, and, you know, how to get folks safely from where they work and live to where they want to play and vice versa. But, you know, if there's other people spearheading other projects that I wasn't even necessarily aware of until, you know, you spoke up about it. And that's why we have this whole open dialogue and process, is to make sure that we're including all of those things in our plan moving forward. So that's really all you had to do, is just let us know.
Okay.
That's it. It's as simple as that.
Okay, fantastic. So
I know that sounds silly, but yeah.
yeah. Okay. So obviously we did have a number of people to write in. We're still having people sending in their public comments to that form that you just put in your email. And so are you able to give us a sense of, am I understanding you correctly? Are you saying that by virtue of being here, putting it out there, and making the necessary county stakeholders aware that we will be on the master plan? Or is there a process through which you sift and decide? It sounds like Charlie.
So because the trail wasn't even on our radar to begin with, that's why it was never included in the first place. That's also why we're asking for all of these public comments, because they're all other ideas and, you know, other workings going on, you know, that are outside of my, you know, little bubble that I'm not even aware of. So, you know, all I can say is we're going to compile all the comments and have a look at everything. But my initial feedback to you is that yes, it would definitely be included in there.
Okay.
Just by virtue of the type of project that it is and its significance to the community and the county as a whole.
Okay. Okay.
You know,
Fantastic.
and as an aside, you know, as you all start to work on this a little bit more, please pull myself in or anyone else over here in DPWMT, you know, to any meetings that you're having, or if you need information from us, you know, so that we can, you know, keep the ball rolling with this. This sounds like a great project.
Sure. Thank you. And I for one, apologize. I had been in conversation with Sachin Heber and with Daniel Paschal from East Coast Greenway. They were on the
Sure.
call from October.
Mhm.
And we have been championing this trail for a couple of years now. And we knew that there were different people in different parts of the county offices that are aware of it. What I wasn't clear about was that it hadn't reached your office, and ultimately it's your office that moves these projects forward in the
Yes.
in a systematic and official way.
Right.
So my
And we work in
apologies.
partnership. Oh no, please don't worry
Hmm.
about it.
Hmm.
This is the first time Baltimore County has ever had a bicycle and pedestrian planner. So this is all very new to everybody.
Okay.
So yeah, no worries whatsoever. And we work in conjunction, with Molly over in Rec and Parks and, Department of the Environment. So we all work as a group.
Okay. Now, if I may ask a couple of other questions.
Sure, go
There
ahead.
is, so we have a growing relationship with the Neighborhood Design Center regarding a feasibility study for the trail.
Okay.
And they're interested in talking with people in county government, stakeholders in county government about the trail as a part of their process in preparing a visioning plan and ultimately a concept plan so that we can move forward in finding the necessary dollars to bring this thing to life.
Sure.
Is it, ought I to share your contact information with Kelly Fleming at Neighborhood Design Center?
Yes, please do.
Okay, okay. Let me think. Do I have any other question? Okay, so when is the final 2030 master bike and pedestrian master plan due out?
It was supposed to be due out at the end of the fall, but we've had some delays, so we're probably thinking it won't be till early spring next year, conservatively speaking.
Okay, all right.
But the comment section, they said, is till the 18th of November.
Correct.
You mean we can submit comments until the 18th and not just to today?
Yes, correct.
Oh, fabulous. Okay, well, we'll keep the comments rolling.
Good. Please do. No, and it's true though. The more comments on a project, the better. Because the
Okay,
more community support you have for something, the much farther it's going to take it. So that's great.
wonderful. Okay, well, I'm happy to know that. I thought that since this was the last meeting for your committee, that this was
Oh
the
yeah.
last opportunity. So
Oh
thank
yeah.
you for mentioning that, Charlie.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, all right. So maybe someone else, if anybody else has anything they want to share, but I'm satisfied. Thank you very much.
Sure. You're welcome. Thank you for joining
One
us.
one
Hi,
comment I'd
Jess.
like to make with regards to the to Nancy's plan. So Jesse, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you look at the master plan, um, there's tiers, and then there's I can't remember what it's called.
Priorities.
Priorities. Yeah.
Prioritization matrix. Yes.
So the prioritization matrix, it seems like it doesn't necessarily speak to any individual trail or route or street, whereas the tiers do. And the tiers are tiers 1, 2, and 3. So it's one thing to get this trail on the plan,
Mm-hmm.
but in my mind, maybe this is a cynical view, but it's got to be a tier. You got to push for it to be a tier 1. Jesse, correct me if I'm wrong, but there is no timeline for completion of any of these tiers or anything. The only timeline I've seen is the priorities. So, especially when you look back to the previous plan where it had the east-west, I mean, there's a ton of things in there that were never done. Maybe very little of it was ever done. So yeah, if Nancy, if I were you, like I'd be really pushing. It's like this has got to be a tier 1.
Gotcha.
If you want it done within the next decade. I mean, that's just kind of my interpretation right now because there is no timeline in the plan for any of the tiers or any of the the segments from what I gather, just reading the plan. I'm happy to be corrected, but that's my understanding.
Okay. Okay, so to your
But,
point,
sorry,
Michael.
let me make
Sure.
a point real quick. Just
Okay.
because there are projects that we are working on that are not tiered within the bicycle and pedestrian master plans, especially if they are community supported, community driven projects. You know, of course, when we're building out our transportation network, which is the point of this plan, and our multimodal network is to get these major connections worked on and hopefully completed sometime before I retire. So, not to be cynical as well, but all these things take time. But there's other of these different smaller scale community projects, also larger scale community projects that are also very important, to our bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure as well. So just because it's not tiered properly or prioritized in the exact way doesn't mean that something's not going to get done.
Okay.
This is just
Okay.
our way of trying to help us create a vision for how we need to move forward when we're building out our multimodal transportation network. That's what the
Okay.
plan is really about, the crux of
Okay.
it. Because the other plans we tried to do a different way and it has not worked. So we're kind of rewinding and starting over with this new set of priorities and these new tiers to try to move these things forward in a more timely fashion and better connections for everybody else. Excuse me. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yes. So so if I'm understanding you correctly, there is no hard and fast formula.
That's
If
correct.
I'm understanding Michael correctly, the name of the game is to continue championing the trail and gaining as much community support for it, not just even in the next 9 days, but even continuing to do that into the future. So let's say all things being considered, we are officially on the master plan. At what tier level is almost, I don't want to say it's immaterial, but at least we're on there. And then the rest of it depends on how much effort we put into essentially furthering its cause. And as time passes and momentum grows and projects happen or don't happen, we get our feasibility study done and determine whether it's a viable project for the county or not. And things just continue to unfold from there.
Exactly. You got it.
Okay. Okay. It would require the building of a bridge across 695. And so that's another sort of piece of it. I know. I'm excited too. So, so when you talk about continuing to, get the word out, share it with people, have people do their, submit their comments publicly into the county, that's just a segment that's not going to go away because there are probably going to be a lot of levels to the project, and its implementation. And so Mike Artell, who is now our District 6 county councilman, said, well, you're not going to get money for a bridge for a trail that doesn't exist, which then said to me, then we can get started on the trail immediately. And then as the trail, in terms of signage, wayfinding, interpretation, all of that kind of thing, all of the components of trail making. And as we move forward, if that's the last cog in the wheel and the trail is up and functioning and people are using it and growing from what they learn, the bridge becomes the last hurrah.
Right. And that's why it's so important to phase these things, into, parts that are much more doable than others and that can get done, in a shorter amount of time.
Okay.
So that you can
Okay.
continue to move forward.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah.
This is great. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
At what point does the video come out of tonight's meeting for people who couldn't be here tonight?
Well, so I'm only laughing because sometimes our IT department's a little bit slow. So I just have to download the recording, give OIT some information, and then they kind of take care of it whenever that turnaround time is, which is normally like a week,
Okay.
sometimes sooner.
Okay.
And then I have to. Sorry, I become my own webmaster. Put it up on the on the website, so that's why it was a little slow last time because I didn't know what I was doing. But we're good now.
Okay.
Figured it out.
Okay.
So
Wonderful.
probably next week. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Thank
Sure.
you all.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Is there anybody else that would like to address the committee at this time?
I'd like to, even though I'm committee.
No, you have to wait.
Oh.
Just kidding.
No, I want to tell Sarah Smith from District 4. I met and also for Jan Brown. I met a police officer, and I can't remember his name. I think it's Kai something, but he has a program called Building Bridges Bike Rides for children in the Woodlawn area. And so he sponsors rides and teaching them how to ride a bike and things like that. And since she's from that district, I just thought she should know about that organization and hook up with him maybe and just help push his agenda too. And since he's a police officer, I thought Dan Brown cared.
Oh, of course, he just signed off.
Did he?
Oh,
He did.
wow. Okay. Okay.
All right.
No, I'll follow up with the precinct. Thank you so much for that recommendation.
Yeah, yeah. So it's called Building Bridges.
That's great. Thanks, Charlie. Is there anyone else from the committee or not the committee that would like to address the committee?
I'm just going to share a link to the sustainable community renewals that are going on for Catonsville and Essex, just so that people have that information.
Thank you, Molly.
Thanks, Molly. Did you hear from Sheldon Smith?
I have not yet.
Okay, I'm going to see him in a little while at another bike meeting, and I will remind him. He's usually pretty good about it. He must have dropped something there.
Yeah, unless you replied just to Pat. I didn't hear from him.
Okay.
Hey, Molly, regarding the sustainable communities, what's the timeline for other communities? I know you've got a list on the website, and I've had people ask me from like Parkville and what have you. You know, they're interested, but there's no indication of, you know, when their communities are going to come up for meetings. And I tried to send an email in to try to like subscribe to, you know, updates, and I didn't hear anything back. And there's no obvious way on the website to be put on a subscription list or anything for updates from what I could see.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Chris, do you have any more information from planning?
Right, so planning is spearheading the. Sorry, totally interrupted you, Chris. Go ahead. Planning is
Yes.
spearheading the sustainable communities.
As far as I know, they're only doing the 2 right now, and I think they're trying to get extensions on the other ones so we can kind of tackle a few at a time instead of trying to do, I think there are 5 of them up for renewal in the near future. But if you, I don't have the information right in front of me, you should be able to subscribe to for information on the hubs that are available for the sustainable communities.
I didn't see anything, and I sent an
Okay,
email to planning, and I didn't get a response.
send an email directly to community planning, and I will give you her email to make sure you get directly to her. You want to contact Gone Jope, and
Can you put that in the chat and I'll copy it?
yeah, let me put the address up there, and you can copy it.
Okay, and I'll give you time by asking a question. If nobody minds. With the bike ped master plan, how does that relate to the county master plan? Does the bike ped plan feed into the overall county master plan, or are they completely unrelated? Should the bike ped plan come after the county master plan to kind of use that as its directing force, or how do they relate?
So they're companion plans. So, one kind of flows into the other one and then vice versa. So they have transportation in the master plan, and then ours is like the more robust version of that.
Mm.
So does that imply that the bike ped plan will have an influence on the county's master plan when it comes out? Like it will
So they
drive?
they vibe with each other. They mesh. So like the county's overall master plan, and then one subsection of that is transportation, and then it's more broad, and then the bike and ped plan is the more detailed version of that.
Okay. So then doesn't that imply that the bike ped plan should come after the county plan?
Well, they're going together. So, the county's working on the planning department is working on their master plan as we're working on our bike and ped plan.
Oh, okay. Oh, so it's being done in concert. There's discussions being
Right, like
had
this.
on the back
Yes.
end. Oh, okay. Okay, that's
Yes.
good.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Because that's some of the questions I've gotten, and that probably would have been valuable that would be valuable to put in the bike ped plan to explain how that's happening, basically.
Right. It's almost like a subset of the master plan, for lack of a
Okay.
better term.
Okay.
Does anyone else have any other business to bring up to the committee? I see all your smiling faces. Nobody wants to say anything? Okay. All right. If nobody has any other business, then I will call for number 7 on our agenda, which is adjournment. So I will call for a motion to adjourn the meeting. Charlie, you're muted.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Michael.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Charlie. And our meeting is adjourned.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much. This was
right.
wonderful, and it was so
Yeah.
nice to
Very
meet you,
good.
Nancy.
All right.